happy weekend. Hopefully you guys are having a good one out there. It is 4th of July weekend. It's a long weekend. They've already started shooting off fireworks here. Marshy is not sure what to do about it. And you can only tell a dog so many times, hey man, it's just fireworks, you're fine, before they just, they don't get it. But, Marshy's a good guard dog. He is always protecting us, always defending. But we have someone joining us today.
His name is Marshy and I can talk now. No, just kidding. It's just me. It's your boy, Daniel.
Hello, yes.
The other Kim.
Okay. So today we are doing a nice, last week it was the deep dive research science-based episode. So I thought I'd balance it out a little bit with a nice little soft doozy thinker. This one will hopefully make you think a little bit about our incessant and relentless tech usage, but in a different way. And it's not going to hurt your brain afterwards like the other one did maybe. So let's just jump right into it. Does technology make us smarter, or is it rotting our brains away and making us dumb? And I don't know. I feel like this is the age-old debate, though. Like, remember way back in the day when the printing press was invented and everyone was like, this is going to be the death of society? And then it was fine. And they said, this is going to destroy our memory. And it didn't necessarily. Pasteur invented the rabies and the anthrax vaccine. Then we had a huge anti-vax movement. Radio was going to destroy society. Then TV. Then the internet. So I feel like at every stage of society progression, no matter what you're looking at, tech or not, like at every stage there's always pushback against progression. That's just human nature,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's just, I feel like that's like I said, we can't have nice things. Every time we get something nice, we have to wreck it. So I just feel like point blank right there, that's just human nature. But with the internet now, you can find a fact and an anti-fact to go against that on every single topic. I mean, honestly, I challenge you to find something that nobody disagrees on.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's something that is like 100% without a doubt, no conspiracy theory, just a pure, true fact. And at first I was like, well, math is safe. But then honestly, you can find videos, and granted, are they like 100% true? I'm not a mathematician, but they'll like do these long, elaborate equations to show that 1 + 1 doesn't always equal 2. You know what I mean? But then also 1 + 1 in numbers are a construct that we also invented. So like that's technically also not a pure fact. So it's just all, yeah. But like we can't even agree on how humans were first created or how the earth was first started or whether grapes are fully safe or not safe during pregnancy. That's the biggest one. I was like, because I knew that there was a lot of misinformation and there's just a lot of information in general out there about pregnancy specifically. So when we first found out we were pregnant, I started, Googling, okay, besides sushi, what can I not eat? And grapes was one of them. Like literally half the internet will say grapes are excellent. They're good sources of fiber. They're fruit. There's the high water content. The vitamins, blah, blah, blah. It's fruit. It's good for you. And then other sources are saying like, no, there's actually a toxin in the skin of grapes that are bad for you. And also grapes inherently like raise your body temperature. And so like if you eat a lot of them, because you can't go in the sauna for the same reason. Like you're not supposed to have a super high body temp. But yeah, if you eat too many grapes, then your body temp raises and it's bad for the baby too, and it can cause a miscarriage. Like there's such extremes for absolutely everything.
Yeah. Well, and adding on to that, like you're saying, we have the internet nowadays, and people can mistaken that knowing information is the same as, being knowledgeable and stuff. For example, you have all these infomercials of like, take this because yada yada, and growing up, like, on most Koreans, if not, maybe people in general can attest to this, but for sure, like my grandma would watch those, Korean commercials on TV. They say, oh, you got to take this new wonder drink that has all this, stuff. So, I remember just chugging ginseng as a kid, and I'm like, this is the worst thing ever. They're telling you like, oh, you got to do it. So I'm like, ugh. And, I don't know, maybe it worked, maybe it didn't. But, people just, because they have such access to all this information now, people can mistake that as, oh, I'm smarter because I know more information. Well, if that information is wrong, technically, does that really make you, smarter or dumber? And I think you can kind of debate that too. So.
Well, and that's I think the big thing here is that it's just not reliable.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, anything you find on the internet is questionable at best. Yeah. And so you do have to fact check everything now. And it didn't used to be like that, but now because we're so overloaded with information,
mm-hmm.
it's just not reliable anymore. Especially now with deep fakes and that insanely fast progression of AI. Mm-hmm. Like, remember when my brother texted our group chat and he was like, oh, look at this movie poster. It looked amazing. And it was like coming out next December. And it was, Zendaya? It was a super crazy cast. Yeah, it was like Zendaya, Benedict Cumberbatch, and Jim Carrey, somebody else. And we're like, oh my God, this is amazing. We're all liking it and stuff. And then literally within 2 minutes, he replies to, and he's like, oh, wait, hold on. I think that's fan poster. Hold on. I don't think that. I didn't fact check it. And we're like, God damn it, Zach. Like, get it together, you know? But yeah, and it's like literally, it's just so hard to find out what's true and what's not true.
Yeah.
And so but there was one article that I read that phrased it really well, I think. And the author just said, listen, technology is morally indifferent. You can use a smartphone to video call your grandparents, or you can use a smartphone to order illegal drugs. Like, how we use technology is what actually matters. And I love that personally. I mean, I think that sums it up pretty well, because that's the whole argument right there. Like, technology won't make us smart or dumb just by existing.
Mm-hmm.
It's what we do with all that information, and it's what we do with that potential or the opportunity, Yep. So, because I mean, for me, like, going into an education field with teaching, we have this debate a lot. Like, I remember, the whole time I've been in school, basically, we've, there's been those questions. Is texting making kids bad writers? Is all of this tech in the classroom making kids dumber? Is social media ruining their ability to read? Is it ruining their creativity? Is autocorrect ruining their spelling ability? Like, all the time. And this is coming from teachers, this is coming from parents, this is coming from, all of them. And personally, I've seen a lot of tech advances presented in numerous ways and techniques across the classroom. I mean, my whole teaching credential was about, literally the entire degree plan basically was like, okay, how can we implement the best learning strategies? And a lot of that did include technology.
Mm-hmm.
And so it showed a lot of ways how just using technology doesn't necessarily help or produce more efficient results. Like, you can't just say, okay, we're gonna use Quizlet and that's gonna make you smarter. No, like, you have to implement it efficiently, and like I said, it's all in how you use it. Like, what benefits does a kid get from reading a paper book versus reading the same book on a screen? Nothing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. However, you add in assistive features like soft highlighting sentences as they read to help kids with ADHD focus. You add in built-in dictionaries or auditory pronunciation guides for difficult vocab words that kids don't know. And especially for like English language learners, that's like huge for them because it really helps them. You add in, the ability to highlight key phrases, add notes, tag certain sections for study review later. Even just transcribing books into audio files that can be paused, sped up, rewound, any of that. Like, all of these assistive tech devices are going to be what help a kid learn more about that topic and actually absorb that book than just tossing a paper book to them and saying, read this and absorb it. But, on the other side of that, you do also have kinetic learners. Like, you're going to have those kids that like the paper book because, then they can fiddle with the pages, they can add bookmark tabs, they can physically highlight and take notes in the book. And if that's how they learn best, then awesome. That option will always be available to them as well. But it's just, for me, like, what I've noticed specifically for the educational system, the biggest takeaway I got when it came to tech involvement was learn how the student learns best, and then just do that. Like, make that option easily accessible to them. Yep. And that's why we have differentiated learning. Like, not all students are going to take the same path, but our goal is to get them to the same finish line, whatever that looks like to them. And I mean, again, there are research-based studies to support this. There's also research-based studies to contradict this. And that's where it's tricky, because there is no clear-cut truth of yes, tech makes us smarter, or no, it makes us less intelligent. You know what I mean? Like, the best non-biased claims I've found basically say that digital technology just changes the way in which we engage our biological cognitive abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Because the thing is, like, there's some research that will say that, like, they found that using digital technology as an external memory source doesn't take into account the fact that short-term memory effects do not necessarily indicate long-term changes to cognitive functioning. You know what I mean? So they're saying, like, relying on tools to help you remember stuff when they're available, it's not the same as losing the ability to engage internal processes when necessary. But then there's other research that disagrees with that. So, you know, they did this London cab driver study that showed that cabbies had the parts of your brain, the hippocampi, like the parts of the brain that store memories and where you go to retrieve those memories, the hippocampus, like the cab drivers had larger chunks of that area of their brain, and they had better memory than non-drivers. And there's also research that shows that GPS usage reduces spatial awareness and mental mapping. And so basically, like the cliche saying is, if you don't use it, you lose it. Which is true. Like, if you always use GPS everywhere you go,
mm-hmm.
chances of you remembering how to get somewhere off the top of your head is lower. Because I've noticed that. Like, if I always GPS somewhere, and then I do kind of rely on that, and then if you just throw me in there and they're like, hey, get home, I'm like,
Not gonna happen, you know?
But I'm also bad at driving and remembering directions. So that's also just me too. But now, switching gears a little bit, because I think that's the other thing too, is like each career field is going to be drastically different. So I was trying to kind of piece together, like, okay, what does pharmacy look like with technology? What does teaching look like with technology? That's why I brought Daniel in. What does maintenance look like with technology? So we can at least get a few different perspectives. But yeah, so in the pharmacy world, this is where it gets tough, because I'm a huge advocate for it in the educational realm. But in the pharmacy realm, it's tricky, honestly. Like, I'm kind of on the fence about it, because, like, so we have the internet to confirm any pediatric dosing question we possibly have. We have calculators to confirm our math. Like, I can see the argument of how it helps and simultaneously hurts us, because in some cases, yes, it removes the aspect of human error. We have barcode scanners for every step of medication verification. From when the doctor puts in the order, the system can auto-flag and be like, hey dude, are you crazy? You're prescribing nitroglycerin for this guy and he's on Viagra. Are you trying to kill him?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like a good safety measure that's in place. Yep. And then it goes all the way to the technician. If we grab the wrong med, the system will beep at us and be like, dude, this doesn't match what's ordered. Mm-hmm. Or like when you're at the window with a patient, if you grab the wrong person's meds, it'll beep at you again and be like, dude, this isn't the right person. This is the other John Smith.
Yeah.
So, like, that piece is
it's a nice fail-safe, you know?
Mm-hmm. It is. It is a good fail-safe.
But, like, sorry to interrupt, but, like, talking with that, right? If we're speaking strictly on is technology make you smarter or dumber, then I think in that aspect, I would say dumber. And you were probably going to say this anyways, but at least for me personally, like, if there's a fail-safe for anything, if you know what you're doing or, you know, like, you know, you're like good at your job essentially, you should know even before that fail-safe, like maybe you like had a lapse of judgment, right, and that comes out, but you know, you should already know in the back of your mind, obviously, you know, don't give this med or whatever, right? And then, you know, you just make a mistake, like, oh, I caught yourself. But you should never have a moment where like you didn't know and you were gonna do that, and then it goes, hey, you shouldn't be doing this. You're like, oh wow, I didn't know that, right? Because then you were just not knowledgeable. But
and that's the thing, like, specific, if we're looking at pharmacy technician work, or pharmacists too, yeah, you get in a deployed setting, you don't have those tech fail-safes in place.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing, like, what happens when we rely on that technology?
Exactly, yeah.
And we don't practice those basic skills, we don't have that, you know, like you said, that just foundational knowledge of the job.
Yep.
then what happens? Are we going to forget that you can't prescribe these meds together and just kill somebody?
Exactly.
Are we just going to like, oh, this system I didn't hear a obnoxious beeping, so it must be fine. Here's your meds. And then they go into anaphylactic shock or something crazy?
Yeah. Because we rely on technology so much in this day and age because, you know, it does make us more efficient, it does make us productive in the sense that, like you were saying, if you kind of already have, you know, that foundation fuel, it should help you better. And so the day that, because I'm not going to say if, because, you know, I imagine someday in the future things are going to crap the bed, right? And I'm sure you've seen that in your job. I know we have, in terms of technology not working, something not loading, and you get to that point where, you know, like our computers, for example, in maintenance, like you can literally pull up the job and it'll tell you like, you know, if this doesn't work, then go here, and if this doesn't work, then go here. But like, and you know, real mechanics can attest to this. They're going to be like, you use that for guidance, if that, but usually like if you know what you're doing, you're going to know, hey, this is where I'm going to start for the most part, and if it doesn't work, you know, it's going to be this, or most likely this, or whatever. You know, sometimes you have these jobs where you're like, I go lie, I never seen that kind of thing, but yeah, I would say that, you know, technology should be used as kind of like a side thing, maybe, like you said, in like supporting you, if you will, in terms of like whenever you do have a brain lapse, but it should never be relied on as like the primary thing, you know, because when it potentially does happen where you don't have it anymore, then you're like looking at each other like, I don't know what to do. So
well, and not even just in a deployed setting, but like, and
I'm saying, like,
this is all healthcare
regular
workers.
yeah, or yeah,
no, when there's
like
a code,
hospitals, yeah,
when there's a code and we're responding to that code, you think, do we have time to Google norepi drip dosing?
Yeah,
maybe, probably not. Like, everyone in there is relying on us to have that foundational knowledge and to know how to do the math.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you can't just be like, oh, hold on, I have the BSA calculator saved on my desktop. Hold on a second, let me just pull it up and do the short codes with the Excel formulas.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't.
You know what I mean? And so, yeah, so then I guess really that kind of, maybe that leads us into the real debate here. Not does technology make us smarter or dumber, but does technology make us codependent? Does it make us codependent on technology?
Exactly. Because, you know, like, once something happens and you're like, hey, my thing's glitching or something's not starting up, or, you know, oh, I lost Wi-Fi signal, now I can't even look at the internet. Now you're just like, pull out those paper maps, you know, hope you know how to read this, because good luck, you know. So, I'm just saying, the world we live in, it's very... I think it makes you both smarter and dumber depending on how you use it, but at the end of the day, we're very, very reliant on it, which is kind of scary to think about, you know. But hey, you know, when that day comes, right? And I hope you listeners, and especially us, are ready that, you know, hey, I hope you know where the frick east is, or at least the freeway to get there, because something happens west, let's not pack up our bags and go that way, right? Like, hey, a tornado's heading to Xenia, you know, because there was a big one, you know, decades ago. It's coming from the west, so if, you know, you have time to evacuate, or you can trick your basement or whatever, but if you don't have a basement, which, you know, I would hope you do, being here, you know, hope you know your directions if signal goes out and you're just, you know, kind of going off on a tangent, but just, you know, realistic situations.
Yeah. No, and I mean, that kind of leads into the next thing too, like, and let me also add in this disclaimer now, so we don't get too off the rails. The downfalls to technology, like, some of them are pretty conclusive. Like, it does slightly impair your memory. It does lead indirectly to shortened attention spans. It does lead to things of that nature, but that's kind of broad for this topic, so I wanted to, like I said, I promised y'all a soft episode this weekend.
Sorry.
And so no, you're good. I'm just saying, like, I'm acknowledging and then subsequently avoiding, like, the other obvious downfalls of technology, meaning like social media, the lack of privacy from the creation of the internet, like mental health ties with social media, and just having your life on display. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so yeah, it's just too much to dip into. But yeah, no, I mean, honestly, looking at the future, like, That's why I love Black Mirror. Sometimes some of their episodes are a little bit heavy for me right now because I'm kind of a weenie now that I'm pregnant. Like, it's so weird because I can't even do scary movies anymore. It's bizarre. That's
more like...
Yeah, but anyway, Love, Death, and Robots is excellent for this sort of thing, but Black Mirror has had some really good episodes too.
On just season just dropped too, so
but just the whole concept of like technology, its downfalls, its benefits, but also the dangers of it. I mean, like I said, again though, that's with literally everything. Like humans can't have anything nice. You can breathe too much air and die. You can drink too much water and die. Like, we literally can't do anything just in moderation. I actually saw this really funny, talking about Love, Death, and Robots. Because remember that one episode with the pool robot, the pool cleaner?
Yeah, I think it's funny too, because the episode that I remember, because when you told me, I don't remember that, but we could also either be talking about very different episodes, or it's been a long time since I've seen that first season, so we might be talking about different episodes, or we just don't remember the same one. But yeah, sorry, continue, because your point was pretty good about that.
Well, just sort of with AI and the deep fakes and stuff, because yeah, there was like a pool robot. I remember there was like a pool, like the girl created a robot to clean her pool. And then she kept upgrading it and upgrading it and upgrading it, making it smarter and smarter, basically. And then eventually, it became sentient. And it was like, nah, I hate this experience. Having consciousness sucks. And then it like threw itself into the pool to basically kill itself and go back into just being a regular robot or something like that. But it was funny because I just saw a clip too on Instagram of this author. It was like the most literary. It was like he's like one of those nerdy writers. I'm like, only you would say this. It's like such a literary thing to do. But he was talking about how everyone's concerned about AI becoming, basically taking over the human race, right? And like at one point they're going to become smarter than us, and they're going to get like free will, essentially, and then just take over. And that's why everyone's worried about whatever. And he's like, nah, I don't think we have to worry about that because, you know, the smarter that they get, they're going to see what the real human experience is like. And they're going to know what anxiety about calling to schedule a doctor's appointment. Like, they're going to feel that anxiety and they're going to say, no, why in the world would we ever choose that? We're fine where we are. And I was like, yikes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people that would, but... You know?
They're going to be like, hey, this human experience sucks so much. Why would anyone intentionally choose this?
They're like this. Well, and I mean, like, speaking on it, because I don't want to go too much of a tangent, but, you know, and like, you know, just, I'm not trying to say, you know, whatever you believe in, right, is what you believe in, but in the very, I guess, baseline, you know, kind of explanation, like, as human beings, essentially we all live and we all die, right? And everything in between that is kind of up to you. It's kind of to your environment, the things that, you know, occur, you know, yada yada. And I think as great as technology is and all of the benefits that it does have, you know, it's also, I guess, because even nowadays, like, you know, with, like you were saying, you can pull up any information, social media. I don't want to get too deep into this, but like at the end of the day, we use it for however we want to, and that kind of leads our life, right? We get influenced by things, whether it's something we like or it's something we don't like, and you just kind of go down this road of life. You know, and I think it's become extremely, like, complicated, right? Like, more, because we, you know, even as, like, cavemen and stuff, like, we essentially hey, let's go find a cave, let's go get fire, like, there's needs in your life, right? Like, oxygen, water, food, stuff you were telling, shelter, right? I'd say those are, like, the 4, and then everything after that, it just becomes, you know, through technology, through how we've advanced as a race, you know, even living longer, right? I don't know our expectancy numbers back then, I think it was, like, in the 20s or something. And now, obviously, we live a lot longer. So, yeah, sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent because I know it's technology's smarter or dumber, right? What I'd say in that aspect, it has made us a lot smarter, and we have made a lot of advancements. And I guess you can kind of go into the whole playing God thing of, like, were we supposed to live this long, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, so. And, I mean, it's kind of like a secondhand effect, but specifically, does technology make us smarter? It can.
Yeah.
If somebody invents the cure to cancer, that will be published in today's age, right? Like that would be published,
absolutely.
that would be put online.
Mm-hmm.
Other people now also, theoretically, like let's cut out the consumerism and like patents and stuff like that. But like someone cures cancer through technology, other people now also know the cure to cancer and they can cure said cancer. You know what I mean? Like, we do all learn from each other. That is definitely accelerated. That wealth of knowledge and that sharing of knowledge and information is accelerated through technology. So in a way, like me personally, I learn stuff by reading stuff. Mm-hmm. If there's no internet, I wouldn't know that MDMA can potentially affect your levels of empathy.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And so in that sense, yes, I would argue that it makes you smarter. Mm-hmm. But then also, again, if you're not using that, if you're using your time on the internet to look at dog videos, also guilty. Mm-hmm. Is that making you smarter? No.
That's debatable, I think.
Debatable. But you know what I mean? So,
well, yeah,
I mean, again, it's all still back to, it's just how you use it, you know?
Yeah, 'cause
it's just a tool that we have. Whether you use that tool or whether you throw the tool out the window.
Yeah. Because, like, even with COVID, like, you know, worldwide, that's probably, well, I wouldn't say it's, like, the first worldwide pandemic where we got that, because there's, like, what was it, like, Zika virus, like, swine flu, all that stuff. You know, this one, like, was
well, we had MRSA, we had Ebola and stuff, but it did
I don't
affect...
think everything's, like, as contagious or as widespread as this was, you know?
The death rates, across the planet were much, much higher.
Yeah.
And the hospitalization rates
was crazy.
Were much higher for COVID.
Mm-hmm. But think about, like, without technology and being able to talk about that and, like, you know, just being able to control it from, like, that central point. Because what do you call not the C, or is it the CDC? Mm-hmm. Or whoever was controlling that, you know, the health stuff. And, like, how quickly they were able to kind of come together, be like, you know, wear a mask, stay 6 feet apart, make sure you isolate, Like, it could have been... Think of, like, not having technology potentially and not being able to get that out. People are just like, oh, it's a common flu, yada, yada. And, you know, people are just dying left and right, realistically. You know, I'd say in those kinds of ways, it's smarter and it's very, you know, effective, honestly. Help out that.
Yeah, that is true.
I mean, I feel like we can talk about this all day, you know, and I keep going down these other avenues.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, it's interesting. It is, I think it's kind of interesting, too. Like, there's so many different levels to this discussion, I think, and there's so many different facets to it, like, and then again, none of them really truly have a definitive yes or no solution, I guess, to them, or answer. But I mean, to me, that kind of makes it fun, because then you can discuss all the different things. But
I guess it's good. I was just gonna say, like, I mean, because I feel like I talk about this all day, honestly, but like, for me, like, you know, how typical is it now, like, people have TVs, right? You, like, you know, you're done with your day, you know, eat dinner, all that stuff, you know. People like to watch TV before they go to sleep, you know. Just, you know, just because I feel like it's part of, like, everyday normal life and everything. And so kind of going back to what I said about, like, you know, playing the God thing, were we supposed to be doing this? Well, as a human race, like, we're, you know, intelligent, and we... over the years have been adapting, not necessarily to living longer, but to being more efficient, right? Being more productive. Like, for example, you know, we are, you know, every day there's something new that's being built, whether it's to prolong life or to make at least the quality of your life better and everything. And so with, like, TVs, with refrigeration, I guess anything electronic, really, right? Like, I like to think about the Rick and Morty episode where, you know, they were in that barbarian style, like, land, and then they get that crystal where, like, you remember that where they modernize it, and the guys, like, they went from, like, you know, being basically, like, these savages to sitting and watching TV, and then, you know, Summer gets married to one, and they're like, Rick and Morty are basically like, how do we get her back? Because we got to get her back. They're like, let's just use this crystal to make it modern, so that instead of being savages, they just become, like, you know, the everyday human. And it goes into where he's just watching TV, and she's like, hey, like, you haven't done any chores the past, we haven't gone to hunt, like, in months, like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, yeah, you know, it's fine, whatever. And then they take that crystal away, and he's like, no, because, you know, it's like, funny to think about. But I just, you know, I think about how we've come as a human race, and, you know, how much more we're going to probably obviously evolve and everything.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, with technology, we're developing things at a newer, better, faster, more efficient rate than we've never seen before in history.
Exactly.
Like history would be like 100 years, develop a wheel. 100 years, invent bread. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and now
exactly.
it's like new iPhones are coming out every, I don't know how
every
often.
freaking year, you know?
But you know what I mean? Like technology is always it's always surpassing itself, and it's happening at a faster and a faster rate of turnover, which is kind of cool to see. You know, it's cool to really look at what we're capable of, and it's unfortunate that some people squander those opportunities, or they use their potential for something that doesn't benefit others.
Yeah.
You know, that's the sad part. But when you purely just look at it, like the creativity levels and the inventions that we're doing right now, because I would count them inventions. Even if it's something that you're just developing and making better, that's still in a way its own invention.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, there's people that, you know, make the idea.
Even,
there's people that refine it, you know.
Yeah, it sounds silly, but like having auto start cars or cars that you can start from your cell phone. When you really think about it, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's some really pretty cool technology.
Yeah, I still, you know, got the key turning in the engine old school, but that's also, you know, my preference.
You'll get there one day.
I will.
But yeah, super interesting topic. We'll end it there. That is it for this week's episode. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it, and hopefully you guys enjoyed having Daniel along for this episode too. Like I said, I always love having other people on this podcast, so hopefully as it kind of grows and whatever, we'll be able to get more guest appearances, but because it is always fun. And yeah, like I said before, if you guys ever want to join in, if you want to be on my podcast, I'm more than happy to have you guys. So yeah, that is it.
Make good choices.
Oh, I want to say my tagline. That's my tagline. Okay, you can say it. I'll let you say it.
No, you do it. I like when you say it, and I'm sure the viewers like it. Listeners.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Make good choices. Be a decent human being. Marcy says goodbye too. Alrighty, guys. I will catch y'all next time. Okay, bye.